Listeners be advised. The Soliloquy podcast discuss matters related to the human experience and many that are sexual in nature. Due to this, some conversations may surround triggering topics such as sexual violence, self-harm, abuse, and much more. Please be advised, a list of crisis and psychological resources will be available in the show notes of this episode. With that said, let's get started with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not inflated. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soliloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. This is your favorite host, Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slater Jackson, and for you freaky motherfuckers out there, Sebastian Adams. On today's episode, we have the pleasure of being with Sharita today as we discuss ideal relationships and whatnot. Sharita, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So, just to go ahead and get hot and heavy into the topic, what are your personal views? Well, what is your definition of the ideal relationship?
Yes, so the ideal relationship is what's healthy for me, right? So being able to communicate, being able to express my emotions without like negative consequence, being able to be one, right? So whenever there are disagreements, because there's always going to be disagreements in any relationship, friendships, etc. But being able to like always come back to like an even ground. So I want, someone who I can trust on that level, someone who brings safety, someone who brings security.
So what is your view of when people say, I want someone who is loyal to me?
I think loyalty is subjective. And so figuring out what loyalty means, right? So for someone who may be codependent, loyalty will look like, oh, I'm doing all of these things for you, so you have to do these things for me as well. And like giving yourself up for that person. And for someone who's healthy and in a healthy relationship, that looks way different, right? I'm not expecting someone to go against all of their boundaries and views just to suit me. So I think we would have to unpack what loyalty means and where they get that idea of loyalty from.
I'm with you there because I know like whenever I do have like communications with other people, most definitely someone that I'm interested in dating and they say they want somebody that's loyal, I really do have to ask them, okay, so how do you define loyal? And I have come across some people who's like, well, loyalty just is loyalty. And I'm like, that's not really, you cannot really define it with just using that same word because my sense and my understanding of loyalty is completely different. And that's one of the things that I personally don't ask for a partner to have. I do ask for like trust, communication, and whatnot, but loyalty. For me, I guess it's something that I'm still trying to find for myself, which is why I don't ask for it. But whenever I do engage with these other people, it's more of I want that 100% commitment to me. And I'm like, well, if that's something that you're looking for, then that means I might not be that person because I can be committed to you. But I also know that for me, being someone that's on the poly spectrum, that I can also be committed to other people too. And I don't ever want to be in a position where I have to sacrifice my own needs just so that the other person feels validated. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't have that definition of loyalty, as well as don't look for that within a relationship.
Yeah, and one thing that kind of made me think about, like, even when like you're looking on like the dating sites, sometimes when I see like I need someone who's 100% loyal, that can feel like a red flag to me.
Mm,
As someone who's been in codependent relationships and have dealt with my own like attachment issues, the fact that you're putting that on there means that you have cheated on someone, someone has cheated on you, or you have been attracted to people who have this like insecure attachment, and
mm,
that's not what I want. I mean, I still engage, I unpack it, but like when I see it at first, it's like, because a lot of people who like put stuff on their dating sites, they'll be like, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want drama, I don't want all of these things. It's like, also, you've been in relationships that there's been a lot of drama in, right? That's what
mm.
I'm seeing when I see that dating on a dating site.
I like that's one of the things that crossed my mind too. And we definitely need to go into codependency, but something that really came up to me is just the concept of red flags. And I know like red flags, I don't see those as like an automatic deal breaker, just something to be alert for and have that discussion with somebody of where this coming from. Like you said, with insecure attachment, like people who've experienced all these things and they've just created some kind of narrative that all the people that they're dating are going to be this type of person, that same person who hurt them, who cheated on them, and now they're attributing that same behavior to every new person that they meet. And it's like, whenever I see things like that, I prefer to like, let's address those red flags up front, and have those conversations to show you that I'm not those other people. But at the same time, either we're going to have to be in the situation and date each other and know each other as who we are today, and let go of who those past identities were, who those people you've dated before, let that go so we can get to know each other. And if you constantly, like if the person constantly makes me out to be that character, or me make them out to be somebody who's hurt me, then inevitably they become that person.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you separate. So what is your advice in a sense, in terms of like dealing with those red flags, and how do you view red flags in general?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a difference between red flags and yellow flags, right? And I think as I've gotten more into dating, like same thing with like I don't quite know, like on the poly, I'm more on the poly spectrum too, but I can be monogamous. And so figuring all of that out as far as commitment and what that looks like. But like for me, there are red flags, which are like these are like against my boundaries. Like I'm not going to do this. This is not like and so an example for me would be someone who's like, I want a girl who's submissive. I'm not submissive. That's not me. That's a red flag. You sound controlling. And I'm not going to engage in that, right?
Mhm.
If I don't have the option, if I have the option to not engage, I'm not going to. But then there are like yellow flags, and those are the ones that I think people don't talk about as much, right? That's where if I see something where it's like, I want someone who's 100% committed to me, that seems like that could be a yellow flag, it could be a red flag, but I want to explore it, I want to process it, yes, see where we're going with it, right? If you've been cheated on multiple times, have you done some of your own self-work, and what does that look like, right? Because you can blame other people for, you can't blame yourself if someone cheats on you, but then you're continuously dating people who continuously cheated on you, then maybe we can talk about who are these people that you're attracting, because I think there is a part that of your own self-work that comes into that.
Mm,
And then there's green flags, and I think green flags, which we don't talk a lot about, we always talk about the negative. I think green flags are great things, right? Things that make you feel secure, things that make you feel like, wow, this is a really great person. And so one of the things that I've been doing is being, especially on the dating sites, because it's really just hard in general, like just dating sites and seeing someone, that short little summary, looking for green flags in that, right? So what about this person actually makes this person feel like they would be a good person for me?
mm. I feel that. Yeah, I don't know too many conversations that actually bring up anything about a green flag. So that's a huge, a huge point right there. But like that is, I will say, another flaw within online dating, is that it's hard to give a Snapchat of who you are in less than 400, or like 500 characters, 120 characters, wherever it is. It's really hard to give a full snapshot of yourself, because it's not enough to just be like, oh, I cook, I clean, I I'm this sexual orientation. I like, you can put the political things like, let's say BLM, Democrat, Republican, all these other things. But even just those scripts do not give you everything about that person. Because I can say I enjoy cooking, but what do you like to cook? What's your favorite meals? Do you practice in like a certain type of cuisine? Do you have a specialization, or you have formal education related to cooking? Like those are things that you really do have to like dive deep into if you really want to get to know a person. Like, yeah, it's a potential that what you have on your profile can provide, I guess, an icebreaker. But at the same time, most people don't read profiles, which sucks. But it's like these platforms don't give you the full narrative. Even if it's like some of like Hinge, how they have a audio component where you can actually hear a person's voice, and I really do like that because I'm just like, oh, that's what you sound like. Oh, you're attractive, you sound good. Okay, yes, but you get the video aspect too. But at the same time, it's like all you get is a sneak peek. And if you really want to get to know a person, of course, that's what we have to do on our end, and like, actively pursue. But I will still like to have a more fulfilled or a more well-rounded view of a person off of what I see on their profiles. To go back on something, you mentioned codependency. Do you mind defining that for everybody and letting everybody know exactly what that is?
So I'm going to pull up the actual definition, so then people, they add to be like, what is the real definition?
True.
So people won't get in my face about what the definition. Okay, so codependency. It is an emotional and behavioral condition that affects an individual's ability to have a healthy, mutual, satisfying relationship. A lot of the time, it maintains itself on a one-sided spectrum. So an example of that would be, I really like this person, so I'm going to go across all of my boundaries. I'm going to do anything just to satisfy this person, even though I'm not getting any satisfaction from it. One example we talked about, which I don't know how codependent it is. It sounded codependent based off the interview. There is this, in a couple other episodes, we talked about this girl, Jazzy J. She's a comedian. She's like dating Cam Newton, I believe. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about, she's like, I have an 8 count for him. When I wake up in the morning, I do this for him. And in the interview, the lady was like, well, what does he do for you? Like, does he have an 8 count for you? And she says, oh, I don't have an 8 count for me. I get happy just off of making him happy. And I mean, I think we would need to dig a little bit deeper to see if that's codependent. But from the surface level, it sounds very codependent. Like, I'm doing all of these things to keep him happy, to keep him satisfied in a relationship. And I'm not necessarily getting that in return. And you're going above and beyond in that situation. So,
yeah. And I think, like, I feel like I made the argument before on the podcast, but I believe, like, in our culture, in Western culture specifically, the ideal relationship is a codependent one, because to this day, I still do not understand why people are looking for a Romeo and Juliet style relationship as though that's a healthy relationship. Like, people, I don't know exactly, whoever's listening to this, I don't know exactly what your age is, but you should not be modeling your romantic experiences off of 2 15-year-olds who committed suicide just because they couldn't love each other. That's not healthy. That's not what you want in your life. One, I also feel that you should not love someone so much that you're willing to commit suicide for them.
The Holiloquy podcast focuses on the variability of sexual expression. When it comes to sexual expression, we often depend on pornography to illustrate how one must perform sexually. For those who have not learned this by now, the stuff you see in porn is not real. Pornography provides a singular perspective of sexual expression that is not often the reality we see during our own sexual encounters. The Holiloquy podcast is a conversation that takes you outside of the compressed box of what many know about sex. Some of the topics we discuss includes kinks, condom usage, status disclosure, and past sexual experiences. The Soliloquy podcast steps out on sexual norms and recognizes that the norm is not the only normal. Subscribe today and join the conversation.
One, I also feel that you should not love someone so much that you're willing to commit suicide for them. Love yourself enough in a sense. But yeah, I do believe that the culture of how we establish relationships in this society is that one-sided, that codependent relationship, how most definitely when you put in gender roles, you have the one person, the usually traditionally the male who's the provider of the family, and then you have the woman at home who has to make sure that he's good, make sure the kids are good, make sure that the food is being made. And even when you go back even further, when you had that this same traditional styling, the woman was at home also tending to the fields too. So like all of these things placed on the feminine persona within a relationship. However, you're doing all this to fulfill the needs of the patriarchy, the man in the house, the patriarch, rather than having a mutual beneficial relationship. What are your views on that?
No, I 100% agree. Like, even when you think about Disney movies, right? Like, people going above and beyond in those Disney movies just to like have a spouse, like Cinderella and all these other crazy like dogmas. That's why I don't necessarily like those like romantic comedies. I'm not a huge fan of them because a lot of them do show that kind of codependency. And unfortunately, because of my own opinion, because of the patriarchy, right? Females tend to get pushed into being more codependent because they're like, well, you want a man, right? If you want a man, then you have to do this. And you're not, there's a status to being in a relationship. You're not good enough if you're not in a relationship. So you get even more pushed into that codependent situation for you.
So essentially what you're saying is that in order to be codependent, you have to make yourself less than?
I don't think you have to make yourself less than, but I do think codependency and low self-esteem go together. So people who tend to have lower self-esteem tend to be more codependent because they are trying to fulfill themselves in other ways by making someone else happy or going above to keep those relationships, even though it's not reciprocal to them.
Ooh, yeah, I agree with that. That's a good point. Yes. That's a word. So, what is your definition of a partnership when it comes to like a relationship? Like for me, if I were to say I'm in a partnership with somebody, we're on the same level. That we come to the table, we find what we both agree upon, and then we go off of that information. Of course, coming back every now and again to have these conversations about what our relationship is, how we're maneuvering through it. Who's like, if let's say if somebody's going to be working, what am I going to be? What are my requirements at home? Or if I'm going to be working, what their requirements are at home, and just having this mutual kind of understanding. So, what is your ideal partnerships?
Yeah, so I heard this really cool thing on another podcast, not too long ago, where it was like everyone talks about being 50-50 in a relationship, but really when you think about it, it should be 100-100. So you should be fully able and capable of being independent, and this other person should be fully able and independent as well, and you guys are coming together to make a whatever partnership that looks like and what you guys agreed upon, right? So that for me doesn't look like the guy always takes out the trash, but if I see the trash, I'll take out the trash. He sees the dishes, he'll wash the dishes. Or if my partner, if she sees, even though she's a female, if she's doing something masculine, that's totally fine. Or I could do something, whatever is masculine. Those are all social constructs, but either way, right?
And that's a conversation. Like if I feel serious about somebody to the point I am looking to be in a committed relationship with them, or even to date, that's actually a conversation I really do have with them. That I'm looking for a partner who is 100%. And I don't want this to be a relationship where this is also kind of going back into the codependency thing, that I'm the person who's making you happy. Because that's a heavy weight for a singular person to carry, for another person to be happy on behalf of them. So I tell my partners that I need you to be whole. I don't want to be the thing that makes you feel complete. I want to be in addition to that happiness that you have, but I don't want to be the source of your happiness. And I want there to be not a 50-50 that makes one. I don't want that. I want there to be two whole beings in this household, or two whole beings within this relationship, because we are two separate people. Like what you enjoy, I don't mind participating in what you enjoy. What I enjoy, I will love for you to enjoy that with me. But at the same time, we don't have to have all of the same likes and dislikes. I think that's what makes partnership, or even contributes to like a healthy relationship, is having those spaces where no one is truly dependent upon the other person 100% emotionally. Of course, if there's times of trouble, of course, like any kind of mental health things that might come up, that you have somebody who's willing to support you and help build you back up and just be there as your partner, as your support group. But they're not there to be like the sole proprietor of whatever it is that's going on within your relationship.
I 100% agree. Like with the partners I have had, I'm like, I don't mind being one of your primary partner, primary like support person, but I shouldn't be your only support person.
Mm.
And I find for myself as a therapist, it gets even more complicated because I'm just, they assume, oh, well, you can be my therapist too. And I'm like, no, I can't and I won't.
Will not.
But that is one thing I always tell my couples. I'm like, hey, you guys it's great that you guys spend a lot of time together, but you guys should also spend time doing things you want to do on your own.
Mm.
Like you have to remember who you are in the relationship separately from the person that you're with.
Mm. I agree. I agree 100%. So attraction.
Mhm.
Attraction in ideal relationships. What is your view in terms of, does looks really matter in terms of finding the ideal partner? Yes or no for you?
For me, yes, to an extent.
Hmm.
So it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be fine. Like, you don't have to be like, whatever, 10, but there has to be something about you that I am attracted to. So be it like, I think you have a really cute face, or like, I like your body, or whatever. There has to be some sort of physical attraction if I'm trying to make this like a long-term relationship for me.
I'm with you there, because I believe that a person's physique is not the full character. Let's say that if you are looking to be in a relationship with any person, you really do have to get to know the person, rather than, oh, I just find them super attractive. Now, of course, if it's somebody that you do not find attractive at all, then it is like physically or sexually attracted to this person. If you're not feeling that, of course, that's something that's probably just not going to happen over time. And I get that, but I have an open mind on different perspectives of our different qualities about other individuals. Like, just because a person has abs does not necessarily mean that they're going to treat you right in a relationship, or just because someone is chubby doesn't mean that they're going to treat you right in the relationship. So it's like, look at people outside of the physique, find out who they are on a deeper level, and then see if that's a good mesh for you. Because with us being in this age of constant swipe left, right, that we're always looking for the person who we see as being a 10, a person that we can look at in terms of, oh, we'll make great pictures together for our Instagram. We'll be that ideal couple, or we'll be the Beyonce and Jay-Z in this moment. Um, Rather than focusing so hard on that, look into what you want and look into how they can mesh to your story, in a sense, rather
Mhm.
than what other people think of you outside of that relationship. And I think that's the disconnect that we see very often these days when it comes to ideal relationships, as well as what we deem attractive, because attraction honestly is kind of a social thing too. Like, we are socialized to believe what is attractive and what is
Mhm.
not attractive. So sometimes you just have to break the mold and just focus on you to figure out what you really want.
I agree. It's kind of like the movie Shallow How,
Mhm.
where to the guy, the girl looked really skinny and gorgeous, but everyone else saw this person was like 600 pounds.
Mhm.
And so like it really is like all about finding that balance. Cause I do feel like, kind of on a side note or a tangent to what you were saying, you do want to find them somewhat attractive. I believe that if you're not attracted to this person at all, it can cause resentment later on
Mhm.
in the relationship. Because what can happen is I may not find this person that attractive, and they may not have a lot of money, or and these other things are not adding up, and it's just gonna add on and on to other resentment in that relationship.
Mhm.
And so you want to be honest with yourself. Also, be mindful of, well, I'm just going to be with this person because they're nice, even though I'm not attracted to them as well, because that can also cause issues in relationships. Because you could be leaning this person on. This person may be fully attracted to you, and you're waiting to see, okay, it's been 3 months. I'm going to see if I can maybe start to like this person 6 months. And so you find out 6 months in, you're not getting any more attracted to this person, so you break up with this person. The whole time this person thought y'all were in a relationship or was attracted to you.
Mm.
So, you want to be really mindful of your actions in that part. Because I've definitely done that to people before, and I don't, as an adult now, I don't think that that's fair for the person
Mhm.
um, who is attracted to you. So,
That's fair. See, I love those kind of self-reflection statements too, which, from a position of growth, understanding exactly where you were at, older time, well, younger age, and the lessons you learned from that. Because I think a lot of people don't take that time to realize some of the things that they may have done that wronged another person. Most definitely when it does come to dating people. Like, I hate that we live in a culture where it's all about, the transactional things, where, oh, I'm going to date this dude so he can pay for my meals, pay for my hair to look good, and then at the end of the day not really have any true connection or attraction to this person. And like, I hate when I see on like social media about, oh, they better pay these bills, blah 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 blah. If you can't do that, you broke, and all this other stuff, and putting that onus on men to always have to be the providers. However, still within the same breath say all men are broke. And I'm like, but the finances that you have that is supporting you, that you kept, and this is talking to some of the women out here who've done things like this. But the finances that you have in your pocket, you were able to store because you were using other people's funds, because of, how you were dating, how they were paying for all these things to pay for you to look good. So don't call these other persons, these men, broke because you've been financed off of them. They're broke because of you. Are you going to give
mhm.
back to them, or even acknowledge that the reason why you are this successful, the reason why you are able to do all these things is because you didn't have to pay for those things? And I think that's a conversation that we don't like openly have quite often.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, and on the flip side, like guys who do all of that, like pay for all these girls things, and they'd be like, oh, well, all these girls are gold diggers. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you're the one who's dating girls, who's asking for money and then
Mm-hmm.
providing them all of these things because you want your girl to look a certain way.
True.
Right. So you have to realize where you play a part in attracting what you consider gold diggers.
Mm, I agree. I agree. This is why I will forever tell people, don't pay for these things. Know who you are paying. Like, know who you're contributing your funds to. If it's somebody who's not going to value you, then don't. Like, that's partly why on first dates I don't prefer to pay, because I really do want to know how the other person spends their money. And I also want to know their expectations of, for me. Like, I do believe first impressions do make a statement, but I also believe that first impressions can also be a lie. So I do like to know exactly who I'm dealing with before I decide to uh, include anything that might be financial in that, because I need to be sure that the financial security is going to be a mindset of both people rather than automatically go into a place where there's going to be lack. What about you?
No, I agree. So for me, I don't usually pay on the first date, but I like the idea of going like Dutch because for me, when I know that I'm paying for something, I will buy what I want to buy.
Hmm.
And I'm really mindful. And that would mean like I'm gonna buy lobster because I want lobster and steak.
Yes.
But I don't want to do that. To me personally, I don't think that's fair to do that on a first date for somebody who's paying for my food.
Hmm.
So to even cut out any of that, like I want to buy what I want to buy, you buy what you want to buy, just to cut out all of that. I like the idea of going Dutch. It doesn't bother me for that first date. You can
Hmm.
see how much money I spent on myself, and I can see what you typically like to eat for yourself.
And I think that is a great way to put it, because like even with like that scenario, it's like, okay, this is the expectation she has. So that means if I'm going to date this person, I have to be sure to meet that same expectation, that I will be able, if I do want to be the person to be paying for these dates, I know this woman loves her lobster and steak. Do I have lobster and steak money? If not, this might be somebody that I probably won't be able to, support financially, or even take out on a date where I have to pay everything, or whatever the case is. You get a good view of where this person stands, and you can make a legitimate decision of if you want to go forward further or not. Now, if you know you don't have lobster and steak money, you decide to continue to go forward with that, ain't no need to be complaining, because that first date you understood where I was at.
And I'll pay for myself. See, and I think that's the thing too, is like I can afford to pay for myself. I can afford all of these things. If you came in, it would just be additional, right? Like that's
Mhm.
all I want is someone that's additional. I don't care about like are you able to pay for yourself and then sometimes take me out on dates and then I do the same. Like it needs to be reciprocal.
Mhm. So, where do you stand on the concept of falling for somebody's potential?
So for me, don't do it. I think yes, but I think going back to kind of like the patriarchy and this pressure on females, I feel like that happens a lot for females. I can only speak for the female perspective, right? I don't know about
Hmm.
male perspective. But I see it a lot. I see it of like, oh, well, he's a nice guy. Yeah, he has 3 kids, and he has kind of, he's been in the jail before, but he's nice and he has potential to be a good guy, and da da da. And I'm like, you're making it. If you find yourself making up more excuses for why you want to date him versus telling me all of the good things that he's good at and like the green flags that we talked about,
Hmm.
then I don't then you should probably not be dating this person. If you have to justify all these red flags and all these yellow flags and you don't have enough of these green flags of like why he's actually working for you and it's like reciprocal and it's healthy, then you shouldn't be with this person.
Hmm. I agree. I believe that it's a no for falling for potential. The reason why is because I believe that if you're going to follow somebody, fall for who they are today. What actions they've provided, what they've said, what they've done. You can look at their history and fall for that. But in terms of tomorrow, I can say I have the potential of flying to the moon tomorrow. Is it going to happen tomorrow? Probably not, because one, I don't know who has I don't know anybody with a spaceship. I don't know Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, and I'm quite sure if they knew me, they would hate me. So I don't have that potential to fly to the moon tomorrow. So what else can I do? So it's like potential is great to have. The same with ambition. I like if you if I find somebody that's ambition, I find somebody that has potential, that's great. That's wonderful. I do hope that they do meet that for themselves, but I also need to know who you are today. Like,
Mm.
I cannot fall in love with some imaginary character. Like, this is not, like we was talking about earlier. This is not Disney. This is not a Disney movie. We know how those things are supposed to end. The potential is happily ever after. This is reality. This is a lived experience where tomorrow is not already written. So, who are you today? And if it's somebody with goals, are you even working towards those goals in this
Mhm.
moment? If you're working towards those goals, I can at least believe in that, and see how that goes, over time. But that imaginary person in the future, it's a no for me.
I'm gonna say something controversial.
Oh Lord.
If you find yourself continuously falling for someone's potential, you may need to look at your self-esteem because it's
Mm,
probably low.
mm. She attacked somebody out there.
And I feel bad for that. I know. Okay, let me like soften that a little
No, don't
bit.
soften. Sometimes people have to get
But
that
I
hit to the
think
heart.
that pattern of doing that is indicative of low self-esteem, right? Because
Mhm.
you're falling for this idea, and maybe this person may end up being a really great person. It's kind of like in the show Insecure, right?
Yes.
Issa spent 5 years waiting for Lawrence and his potential.
Mhm.
But then as she started to become more into herself, and the point of Insecure is that she went from being kind of a lower self-esteem to a high self-esteem at the end. She realized that she wasted her time, right? Like she
Mhm.
deserved people to be on the same level as her. She deserved to be with someone who was actually not only just having potential, but acting on the things that they wanted to act on.
Mm.
And and I say this to say there's nothing wrong, if you have low self-esteem or you have self-esteem issues, everyone deals with self-esteem, everyone deals with
That's true.
self-worth in their own way. You deserve someone who's going to be there and actually act on those things that they have the potential for, just like you yourself deserve to act on your goals and your own potential for things that you want to do.
Mm. Y'all better absorb that message. Please absorb that message. Like you said, it's nothing bad about having low self-esteem because we all deal with it, but find a way to heighten that. And even going off of the Insecure, because that's the show. Insecure, y'all. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. But just even watching that growth of Issa is like, she had to let go in order for her to grow. And she had to let go of an image of herself that she had for so long in order to go past that. And even for some people who may have low self-esteem, are you still living in a self-image that no longer exists? Like, who are you today other than that person that you were? Because look, some people allow a comment of someone calling them ugly in fifth grade to latch on to who they are at age 28. That kid ain't in your life more than likely. If they are, you need to talk to yourself about why this damn kid's still in your life. I hope they grew.
Right.
If they still in your life and they called you ugly and it still impacting you at age 28, then that kid, I don't, they not your friend. You still hurt by that, they not your friend. But you sometimes you just have to reimagine yourself, make yourself a completely new person, and who you are today. Just focus on that. Who am I today in this moment? And find the beauty of who that person is, find the excellence of who that person is, and find the success of that person in all of the crevices of your lived experiences. Because a lot of times, many people allow just the one negative comment or the negative comments that we received from multiple people outweigh all the beautiful things people said to us throughout our lives. And it's time to recognize those beautiful moments. Um, so on that note, I think it's a good time to switch over to the Never Have I Ever segment. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So, never have I ever been to a sex club.
Never. I've never been.
Me neither, but I definitely need to change that.
There's some really cool ones here in Atlanta. My friend, he keeps telling me about these two that he goes to all the time. He's like, he's poly and all out in the lifestyle. But I've just never made it to one.
Child, does he have the? Like, I need you to get the list of these names of these places
I'm
and
trying to
send
remember the
them.
one he told me
Is it
about. There's one
Trapeze?
called The Loft, but I think so that one I don't think you need a membership. There's another one that you do need a membership for.
Yeah, the only one I know of is I think it's called Trapeze.
Yeah, I think yeah, there's Trapeze, there's The Loft, and there's another one that I know for sure, but I have to go back and ask him what the names were.
Oh, I know there's a
He's willing
dungeon.
to take me. Yeah, but those are like, I mean, that's different than the sex clubs. I think those dungeons are a little bit different, but they're primarily BDSM, from my understanding.
Mm-hmm. I actually was going to go to one back in August, but I ended up not even going to Atlanta at all. So one of these days I'm going to be out there in these streets. And after I read that question, I remembered that on our episodes we were supposed to only be doing sex questions. So y'all forgive me. But I do have one. Have you ever had sex in your parents' house?
Yeah.
You scandalous.
But only for a little bit, because then I heard the
Not-
garage open and then we stopped and then
So
yeah.
is this one of those I just got the tip kind of situations?
Kinda, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had sex in my parents' home too. It wasn't anything like extravagant though, so nothing like be like, oh my gosh, you might get caught. Nah. Where are the most unusual places you've ever had sex?
Not to me unusual, but I've had, if we consider like fingering and stuff of that nature at the vortex.
As in inside the vortex or outside, like in the parking lot?
In the restaurant.
What the hell? Whoa, wait.
What?
Were you like in a bathroom or in like a booth or something?
In a booth?
You scandalous whore. I love it for you. Because all the motherfucking people that be at Vortex.
It'd be so many, but no one noticed, and there's a lot of people. Like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Not the deep petting in the Vortex.
Yeah.
I would say the most unusual place I've ever had sex was like in somebody's backyard on a trampoline.
That seems dangerous.
It wasn't. It wasn't. It was fun though.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, in a park bathroom. I forgot about that.
A park bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I had sex in a park once, but then I found out that you could be a sex offender if you ever got caught. And I was like, I'm good on that.
Exactly. This is why I'm against public sex because of that. Because I'm like, I'm not trying to be listed as a sex offender at all. Because one, that there's a huge stigma against that for one. So it's like now you have to change your livelihood and all this other stuff. And now people are going to think that you're out here trying to grope children and shit. And it's just like I just
and I work with kids, so
right.
Yeah,
it's not worth it. It is not worth it to be out here having sex outside, people. It's really not. It's like, no, don't do it. And then if you do have your own kids, that opens the door for them to be taken out of your custody. It's not worth it, y'all. It's not worth it. I know there's a lot of videos out here of people doing public sex. Don't do it. Just
go to go to an all-inclusive place and then you can do public sex there, like hedonism, like go somewhere where it's acceptable, but you still get to have like the voyeuristic stuff and expeditionism like there.
Oh, another thing that y'all can do is find your rich friends and tell them to donate to Slater's Playhouse so I can get this thing off the ground. That works too. And if you are that rich friend, feel free to donate.
You trying to build a whole playhouse of just where like a sex room?
In a sense, so there's two parts. So with Slater's Playhouse, I still want to have the function of publishing books and whatnot, but also I want it to be a place where people can get their sexual needs met in terms of like merchandise, like toys, any kind of custom design works, like for people who are on the furry spectrum, or even people who like leather play, costumers, have that available for people, sex education, as well as counseling and coaching for people, and sex workshops. And then within a completely different facility, or the way I see it, a secret hiding space, where it's like an adult playhouse for real. Like there's things that you can do with your partner. There's games. There's just a way to embrace your like your inner child as well as your adult sexual being at the
Oh,
same
that sounds
time.
so much fun. I would love to be a part of that. That sounds super cool.
Right.
Would
So,
y'all have like sex surrogates?
ooh, I haven't thought about that honestly, but that would be something that I would be open to. But with the state of Georgia, that would be a hard thing to push because I do want to
I mean,
open.
this whole thing would be kind of hard to do in the state of Georgia in general. But
Exactly. So we shall see how that goes. If not, it might be out of the country. But for anybody who believes in this mission, again, donate to Slater's Playhouse so a motherfucker like me can be funded so we can make this happen. Anyways, is there anything else that you would like to, any tips, tricks, or things of that nature that you would like to share with the audience before we close out the show?
nope, this time I don't have anything to say.
All righty. Well, listeners, other than donate to Slater's Playhouse. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening today. Sharita, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. And listeners, just in case no one else told you this today, you are beautiful, you are worthy of happiness and joy, you are enough and then some. You may not live up to the expectations of others, but that is okay. You are only required to walk in your own shoes. May each day you live lead you towards abundance. With that said, love you all and see you next episode. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Soliloquy Podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. You can subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting app and find us on the web at www.soliloquy.com. That's www.heauxliloquy.com. Share the podcast with your friends and join the conversation.